Hey, what's up, Mad Men fans? Kino here, and I'm back with a whole new season of reactions. Just started season 5 of Mad Men. Now, this is interesting because this is a two-part episode. I'm only reviewing the first part now. I thought about maybe, should I watch the whole thing and review it as, one, piece of the narrative? But, I don't know. Since it's on AMC as two parts, I'll just review each part individually. And excuse the noise if you can hear it. They're doing construction outside right now. But so this episode opens up a little while after we left off last time. Dawn and Megan are married now. They've moved into a new a much nicer apartment. And things are going well with them. They're very much in love. But things are not going as great at Sterling Cooper. They've kind of stabilized from the point they were at last season where they were losing business and stuff like that. But it's very much like a downtime. There's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of clients. And this particularly bothers Pete because he's very ambitious and he wants to do great things. So he's constantly finding ways to drum up new business. But he feels like the other partners like Dawn and especially Roger are not helping him. They're kind of just focused on their own self-interest rather than the company's interest. So we've seen that conflict between Pete and Roger before, and I think it's going to continue to play out in this two-part episode. Again, I only watched the first part right now. But yeah, I think it's going to be an issue there. Meanwhile, also Peggy is feeling like the heat from having Megan's come aboard as a copywriter, I think. And I think Peggy especially feels like she doesn't deserve it. She just got there for marrying Dawn, whereas she worked her ass off to get where she's at, and she feels like because Megan is Dawn's wife, she doesn't have to do all the hard grind work that they had to do. So I think she feels that's unfair too. So, now the big thing about this episode is Megan throws Dawn a surprise party. We of course know that Dawn absolutely hates stuff like that, but, she does it anyway. And it's a fun scene because it very much reminds me of parties that I've been to, office parties I've been to where it's it's one thing to work together in a work environment, but when you bring them to a party environment where you have people's personal stuff going on, all that kind of stuff, it's very much uncomfortable at times. I thought it was really cool. There's a scene where Peggy's boyfriend, the underground news writer, whatever he is talking to Bert Cooper about the war, and it's I've seen shit like that a million times where it's these two people would never be in the same circle aside from the fact that they have people in common who work together, and that's why they're at this party. So, yeah, I thought it was a fun scene. And then Dawn's wife, Megan, she sings this French song called I think Zooby Zoo. Dances all sexy and stuff. And she does it as a gift to Dawn. But we can tell he doesn't like it because he doesn't like this kind of showy ness from her. And I get Dawn's feelings, I really do. I'm obviously like him a lot. I'm very sexy like he is, but I'm a lot like Dawn in the sense that I don't like attention, but I also really do like attention, but not that kind of attention. You know what I'm saying? So I really related to Dawn and him being it was a nice thing what she did, but it was an embarrassing kind of attention, whereas Dawn likes the work kind of attention. In the same way that I like attention for stuff like this for my work and what I'm doing, putting myself out there, but in a personal or party environment, I'm stay away from me. So I get what Dawn's hesitation there, but Megan at the end, it seems like she was kind of hurt by that because she's well, I did all this for you to show you I love you. And again, I think Dawn knows that, but again, it's that whole shy kind of ness that Dawn has that makes him not appreciate I think he feels out of control in that environment. He doesn't like it. And again, I don't like being out of control either, so I feel the same way. But yeah, we'll see where they go next episode, because again, this is a two-parter, so I feel like this is only half of the story so far. So I think I'll leave it there, and I'll just talk about the next episode, and we can talk about the season premiere as a whole. So I'll watch that right now and talk to you guys soon. All right, back with the second part of the premiere, A Little Kiss Part 2. Really, this was a good episode. Like, the second half was, I think, much more solid than the first. It is, I guess, telling one story, but yeah, we'll just talk about the episode. So, goddamn, a number of different things happened. One, Pete, he's gonna get Mohawk Airlines in, but he complains that he has a small office, even though he's the one primarily driving the business forward by bringing in new customers. He wants Roger Sterling's office, but he refuses, even though he does absolutely nothing there. He's just a drain on them. But he says no, and he ends up paying Harry Crane to swap offices with Pete, because it was worth like $1,000 to him, which is a lot of money back then. That's probably like, I don't know, at least like $5,000 or $10,000 now. But it was worth a lot for him just to keep his office and not have to trade. Again, he's all about like status and stuff, and he's a total baby. There's this great part where Joan brings her baby in, and she says that the baby always needs attention from her, and it's Roger Sterling's baby, so that's a funny thing right there. We'll talk about the Joan part later. There's a bunch of different storylines going on. But Harry Crane agrees to switch. Harry's got his own little thing this season where he's like, or not this season, but like this episode, he was talking about how much he wanted to bang Megan, and she overheard him, and that hurt her feelings and stuff. Harry, when we started this season, he was one of my favorite of the little like guys, the little, the Pete, Ken Cosgrove, him, Paul, all those guys. He's kind of become a little bit of a douche. I think maybe that's intentional. Maybe because he's like always in Hollywood kind of thing. But yeah, he's become a little bit of a douche. And anyway, there's just that funny little subplot with him. But Pete gets to get Harry's office, and then he decides to prank Roger Sterling by penciling in a meeting with Coca-Cola in like a faraway place, in Staten Island, but like far away from where they're normally at. At 6 a.m. to make Roger get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to just try to get over there. Man, that was funny. But yeah, Roger, I think sees Pete as a threat because he's actually like, doing his job and is trying to steal clients from him to make himself look better, kind of thing. He also he's got this thing with his wife where they don't like each other anymore, and yeah, it's like they the honeymoon period was over for them, and Roger's just unhappy in that relationship. He gives his speech to Dawn when Megan's singing the song, and he's like, what's worse than not getting what you wanted? Seeing someone else get it instead. Right in front of his wife, like basically saying that he wishes he had Megan instead. Not that he likes her or anything, but just that's how Roger is. He sees something new, he wants it. They have a funny relationship though. He said to his wife, he's like, why don't you sing like that for me? And then she's like, why don't you look like him? And it's like, yeah, that's a funny barb there. But that's one storyline going on. Another is with Joan. She has her baby. She gave birth. She's still saying it's the husband's baby. He's gonna come back soon, but not like immediately. And she's tired of being stuck at home. She wants to be back at Sterling Cooper. She sees an ad. Okay, so they run this ad for equal opportunity employment at Sterling Cooper. they're not actually hiring anyone. They were making fun of. There's like a firm in the building that was like throwing water, like bags of water on civil rights protesters. So they made this ad as like to humiliate them. And so Joan thinks that she's being replaced. She's not. She has a nice moment with Lane about it, but at the end of the episode, there's all these African American people that are looking for a job because they thought it was real, and you kind of realize it's like, oh, that's kind of a shitty thing to do to run this ad, basically being like yes, we'll hire African American candidates or whatever, and you're like, well, we're not actually going to. We were just making fun of other people while also being in a way kind of not racist, but like what's the word? Maybe just ignorant to like what they're going through. But they're like, yeah, oh my god, a legitimate company on Madison Avenue is hiring black candidates, and they're like, no, we're not. We were just making fun of other people, and we're using you to make fun of them. So it's like it's very non-empathetic, I guess would be the word, to what these people are going through. But at the end of the episode, they decide they're gonna actually maybe interview some for a black secretary because they're worried that they'll be portrayed as racist if it's revealed that this was all just a prank. So I don't know if they're gonna do anything with that, like if they're actually gonna hire someone. And I was wondering, like, are they maybe gonna hire someone and replace Joan? But probably not. They would just fire one of the other secretaries. But that was a funny little storyline. Dawn and Megan are going through some problems because she's hurt that he didn't like her party. She has this great line to Peggy where she's like, "You're all so cold and cynical. Like none of you smile. You just smirk." And we do realize like how jaded everyone who works on Madison Avenue is, who works at Sterling Cooper. They're not happy people, but this work is pretty much all they have, so they devote themselves to it. And then we get a very titillating scene with Dawn and Megan where she's like cleaning in her underwear, and she's like, "No, you don't get to touch me," or whatever, and that just like turns Dawn on, and he like fucks her on the carpet and stuff. So they make up through sex, which was pretty funny to see. But yeah, that's pretty much every storyline. Oh, there's also this weird storyline with Lane where he like finds a wallet in a cab, and there's like this picture of this girl in the wallet. She's very attractive. She's got big tits. And I guess he like is interested in her because again, he's having problems with his wife. He was dating that black girl too. I don't know what happened to her. I guess he's not seeing her anymore. But I guess he almost kind of like fell in love with this girl through her picture in the wallet, and he wanted to, I guess, maybe try to bang her or something. But at the end of the episode, the guy comes back for his wallet because he gave the guy his office location, but he keeps the photo and he keeps it in his wallet. I don't know if he's gonna like pursue that girl, or if maybe it's just like he's keeping it with him just as like a form of like escapism almost. Again, we see a montage at the end of the episode where a lot of characters kind of have their like the thing that's kind of distracting them from their problems, right? Dawn talks in this episode about how all the characters have their own problems independent of each other and stuff like that. So maybe he's just going to keep it. Or I don't know if it's going to be a storyline or not, but we'll see. But overall, strong start to the episode. It's in some ways the same old thing going on at Sterling Cooper, and in other ways it's like, we're still dealing with unique problems that all these characters have. We'll have to see. Not every season, not every character is featured very prominently every season. Like Harry Crane has not been a huge character like for a few seasons, so maybe this one he might get more of a chance to shine. I still don't know what that artist guy who like constantly fights with Peggy, his name is, so maybe we'll do more with him. Maybe Ken Cosgrove will be featured more, who knows. But yeah, for now, I think I'll leave it there. Very excited to watch more of the season, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another reaction. Just watched the third episode of the fifth season. Um, I don't remember what the title of the episode was, but we have pretty much two, or I guess maybe three storylines happening in this episode. So one is that Betty has, one, this is the first time we've seen Betty since, the first time we've seen her this season. And she's gotten a little bit heavy. She's put on some weight. I don't know if they did like a fat suit for her or something, or maybe the actress gained weight for the role or something, but, she's put on a few pounds, you know. She's living in a very comfortable life. The house that they live in now is fucking huge, man. This thing is like, it looked like 3 or 4 stories tall. It was like a castle. This guy must be doing pretty damn well, all things considered. Yeah, they're living in this place, and she's put on some weight. Her mother-in-law suggests that she go on diet pills. She goes to the doctor, and then the doctor finds that she's got a tumor on her, what is it called, hypothalamus, or whatever that gland is right there. So she thinks she might have cancer. She might be dying. She calls Don and tells him about it, so now he knows. At the end of the episode, it turns out it's benign, so that's not the issue. It's interesting that she called Don. I think she tried to maybe call her husband first, but he didn't answer. He was at work or something. But either way, she went running back to Don, and the husband notices at the end of the episode when Don knows, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't even know she told you." That, like, she's going back to her sense of comfort, which was Dawn. So we saw that at the end of last season, when that moment they shared in that house before it got sold. That was, that was interesting. We'll see where they go with Betty. I know a lot of people don't like her, and I can see why, but, I still am interested in her stories. I'm still interested to see where they go with her, because I do sympathize with her, even though, she can be a lot sometimes and very much unreasonable and childish. I like the character. What can I say? While that's going on, Dawn goes to Heinz Beans wants like the Rolling Stones to record a commercial for them. Which was not gonna fucking happen. So he and Harry Crane go down to the concert where the Rolling Stones are happening. They try to get him to sign. They don't really ever get to meet the band. It was never gonna happen. This is like the height of their popularity, right? Dawn has like a conversation with this very young, like teenage, like fan of the band. And you're thinking for a second, like, is Don gonna go bang this girl? But no, I mean, he's still in the honeymoon period with Megan. We are kind of seeing some faults develop. That's how it goes, But so they don't sign him. Again, Harry Crane's kind of it's kind of pathetic. That's just one storyline happening. Another is Peggy gets told to interview someone to hire a new copywriter because they brought on Mohawk Airlines again. It's the airline company that Dawn had to let go of to maybe get American Airlines. So they came back, but they need a new copywriter, and there's this really talented guy. His name is Michael Ginsberg. He's the lawyer in Silicon Valley. Same guy, very funny guy. Excuse me. They bring him in to interview, but Peggy kind of feels like, oh, this guy's gonna replace her because he's very talented and he's a man. So it's like, if he does really well, he'll outshine her and they'll promote him over her. So, and Roger Sterling tells her like, "Oh, don't worry, no one's ever gonna replace you." But at the end of the episode, Pete kind of humiliates Roger in front of everyone. And he's kind of like, "Forget what I said, because I hired that kid, and now he's replacing me." So very much, it's how it goes there. So we'll see what they do with this character. He seems like eccentric, kind of weird. I think it'll be interesting to see where him and Peggy go. I don't know, maybe there's a romance that blossoms between the two. Who knows? But it'll be an interesting new addition to the cast. Also, they did hire that. They hired a black secretary from a few episodes, or last episode, when they ran that equal opportunity employer thing. So they ended up hiring her. Her name is Dawn, like Dawn, like the Dawn. And I don't know, that just little detail like that, I was like, it makes it feel like real life, because like there's oftentimes we think about like these weird coincidences that happen, and we never really see that on like TV or anything like that. So it's cool to see like little details like that make it feel very much like real life. Like we've ran into someone, or we worked with someone who has the same name as us, and people joke where it's like, "Oh, you're that person, you're that," So I like that detail there. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire episode. I hope they continue these storylines because they seem pretty interesting. So I'd love to see more of Betty and what they do with her and Dawn's relationship. I'm pretty sure we're going to explore more of like Dawn and Megan, because they're having a little bit of problems kind of related to, I think their age is like the biggest thing. Because I think she is like in this like I want to have fun kind of phase, and Dawn is more like in this I'm a serious older guy kind of phase. So I think we'll see some problems as they kind of split apart and go their own ways. So I don't know, maybe Dawn will get divorced again. Maybe it'll be a whole new relationship. But I think we'll have to at least give it a few seasons, But anyway, we'll see. For now, thank you guys for watching, and we'll check out the next episode soon. All right, back with another reaction. This time it's the 4th episode of season 5. This episode's called Mystery Date, and this is a really good one. Like, there's a lot of great subtext to this episode. This is why Mad Men really stands out to me as a show that's like that's so incredibly well made and has depth, versus other shows that do similar things to this but just don't nearly have the level of sophistication that this show does. So let's talk about the plot real quick, and I'll talk about what I liked. So in this episode, Dawn is sick. He has a cold. He runs into like some woman he used to bang. I don't remember if we saw her on the show or not, but he runs into some woman he used to bang. Megan's a little bit jealous, but not too, like, she's not too much like a harum for harum. She's like, I know you used to do stuff like this. But then Dawn goes home and he hallucinates that this woman is like she's like keeps breaking into his apartment to have sex with him, and he's like, "Leave me alone." He like chokes her to death and like hides her underneath the bed, and it turns out it's a hallucination. And it was pretty clear to me, even from like the first time we saw her, that, oh, you're just hallucinating right now because you're sick and you got a fever. Another lesser show would have done something like this where Dawn strangles a woman or something, but it's just a manifestation of like his guilt and his fear that he's going to lose Megan because of his own actions, of course. But again, gets the heart of Dawn's character without being too salacious. Now, the tease that he maybe strangled a woman to death was, meant to be like, oh my God, are they really doing this? But of course, we know they're not going to really do that. This is Boardwalk Empire might have done that, not Mad Men. But that's one storyline happening. Another is with Peggy and Dawn, the black secretary girl. Now, now that I keep saying her name, it is kind of confusing, just like how the characters were joking about it. But basically, Dawn, the black girl, is sleeping at the office because she can't go home because where she lives, there's like a riot happening, and it's dangerous for her to go out there. And so Peggy has her come and stay at her place. And we get this thing from Peggy that we touched on last season when she was talking with her boyfriend about how she's like, well, I made it being a woman in a man's field, so why are the African Americans complaining, blah blah blah. Kind of, and I know some of you are gonna hate this word, but it's kind of like Peggy's privilege that she's like, she doesn't like get the problems that these people have. And we get a great scene of this here, where one, she's talking to this girl and asking her like, do you want to be a copywriter, and kind of talking about her problems as a woman. And the black girl's like, no, I just want to be a secretary, just because like Peggy can't even realize that like her ambitions of being a woman in a man's field doesn't even apply to Dawn, because she's like, her problems are so much more like, I'm lucky to even be here, compared to what's going on and what's going on in the world right now. I'm not dreaming about like, oh, what's the next step for me and like what am I gonna do to get there. It's like, I'm just happy to have a job and happy to have something going on here. So Peggy's, her ignorance of that is one thing. And then two, she leaves her purse in the room, and she gives her a look like she was worried she might steal something from the purse. And then again, what's so fucking brilliant about this episode is, and what sets it apart from like modern woke shows is, the woman leaves in the morning and she leaves a note for Peggy being like, hey, thank you for letting me stay here. I'm sorry for putting you out. Like, didn't say goodbye because she felt that Peggy didn't want her there. And another show that didn't have the level of writing that this show would have her be like, the black girl would have been like, how dare you, dude, like, how dare you look at me like, like, very much in her face, angry about it. But the fact that she left this note here, and you could feel like the hurt between the two of them. Like, again, Peggy's ignorance to what's going on with black people, her lack of self-awareness with her privilege and all that kind of stuff. It's so much more powerful in that last shot where she's just looking at the note and she realized like, oh my God, I fucked up here. Like, I didn't take her feelings into consideration. I wasn't being a good friend to her. That's so much more powerful than a straw man character having to get on a soapbox and be like, Peggy, do you have any idea what we African Americans go through on a day? Like, that is cheap, boring writing. That's not good. But having Peggy realize it on her own and deal with it on her own, that message just comes through so much clearer. And I was like, oh my God, because we can all relate to situations like that where, not necessarily about racism or anything like that, but just like situations we've been in where it's like, I didn't come off the right way here. Like, Peggy is obviously not racist. She doesn't like hate black people, but just because of her lack of self-awareness, what she did in the situation, just created some distance between her. That's not, irreparable, but we've all had moments like that where we're like, oh, I didn't come off the right way. I came off like an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And that to me is why this show is so sophisticated, because nothing needs to be said. We don't need to have, a minority character go up to Peggy and be like, check your privilege, bitch. It's just like she can realize it through her own actions, in the same way that like Dawn in this episode is realizing that his selfishness and his like huge fucking sexual appetite makes him in danger of losing someone like Megan. So, really, really well done writing in there. I thought it was fantastic. Now the last storyline happening, which I wasn't as happy with, was Joan and Greg. So Greg comes home from the war, He's been let out of the service, but it's revealed that he signed up for another year, so he's going to go back. And Joan's not happy about this. At the end of the episode, she tells him, like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And he's like, if I walk out that door, this is it. I thought that was kind of cheap. Like, I get what they're going for here. Like, again, Greg, like she says, like, you've not been a good guy even before we're married, and you know what I'm talking about. And she's referring to the time he raped her, and she just let it go. But now here she is trying to basically like she's devoting all her mental energy to be like, how do I please this man now that he's come home? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to war. And by the way, you're telling me you've got a smoking hot redheaded wife with big tits who literally all she thinks about all day is how to please you, and you're gonna go back to be with a bunch of men? Dude's probably gay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not talking shit on people who go back to war, but come on. You fucking got like a dream fucking life there with that woman. Yes, she cheated on him, but he doesn't know that yet at that point. So you're seriously just gonna go leave that behind. But again, I'm not trying to insult people who go to war or anything like that. But considering the fact that what he did to her in that first or what was it, second season, somewhere around there, was pretty god awful. I understand her point that she doesn't want to be with him, but I just felt it was kind of cheap that like we're just gonna bring him back for this one episode and they're just gonna like break up. I don't know if that's what they're gonna do. They might continue on the storyline or somehow, but I think she's gonna break away from him because he is a piece of shit. Like, again, good for him for serving his country and like helping those guys, but it's also kind of implied that like he's looking for a sense of like importance and a sense of being in charge, being powerful, that he didn't like, because remember he wanted to be a senior doctor at the hospital and it didn't work out for him. So this is now where he can do that. Again, my thoughts on television are not my thoughts on real life. I don't look down on anyone who goes into the service, who serves our country, who saves other people's lives. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about this one character on a show. Come on, man. You got those big, gigantic things waiting there for you. But anyway, jokes aside, really, really good episode. Some incredibly subtle writing that I think is just fantastic. So, anyway, thanks for watching this one, and we'll check out the next episode soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back again with another episode. Just watched the 5th episode, I think, of this season. And man, was this a funny one. We got a lot of fun stuff that happened in this episode. So let's just get through the storyline. So, first thing, Peggy's in like a diner and she runs into Ken Cosgrove and he's meeting there with someone. And it's later revealed that they have this kind of pact where, if Ken, leaves to go to another firm or something, she'll go with him. I didn't know that they had that close a relationship or whatever, but, I guess they've kind of, gotten to know each other and bonded and stuff. So, that was cool. But the reason he was there is because he was kind of pursuing like a publishing deal for his short stories. He's been a writer for a long time, since we met him in the early seasons. So he's still doing that. He's writing like science fiction and fantasy stuff. This is the probably late 60s now, so definitely like a renaissance period for that, genre of storytelling. So he does that. Later on, though, Pete finds out and he tells Roger Sterling, and Roger Sterling tells him like he can't do it anymore, or else he's splitting his attention from work. And that's why he also didn't really want to bring it up. He brings it up at the dinner party, which we'll talk about, but at the end of the episode, he's just adopted another pen name and he's writing more stories under that. So I can relate to that side of it because I have my own passions and stuff, obviously outside of my day job. This is one of them. Writing used to be one of them too. So I can understand him having that kind of, you know, desire for something artistic outside of his like just normal day job. But so let's also talk about Pete. So Pete invites Dawn and Ken over for dinner, like their families over for dinner. They have a dinner party. It's not awkward. It seems like everyone had a good time, but there's this one issue where Pete, he fixes like a faucet, but then it breaks again, and then Dawn comes in and fixes it. Basically, he comes off more manly and stuff than, you know, Pete does. Later, like Pete, throughout this episode, Pete's getting like his driver's license. I guess he has to go to classes. I didn't know they had those back in the day. I mean, I guess they had them, but I didn't know that was required to go to those classes. I think I took one of those driver's ed classes, but I think it was just because my parents wanted me to. I felt like you could just get your license if you hired someone to just show you how to do it real quick. But I don't know, maybe he's got to go to classes for some reason. But there's this young girl there who he's kind of like flirting with. I got the impression that she's like, I guess she's going to college next year or something, because I don't know, this girl seemed like really young, and I don't know, every year these characters get older and older, and I'm like, damn, dude, you're really going after like a high school girl. But there's this like guy who comes in, and she's like clearly more attracted to the young high school guy than him, and then this makes Pete feel, you know, like he doesn't feel like desired or cool or masculine or any of that kind of stuff. Later on, they take this British guy who works for Jaguar or something. He's gonna give them their business, but he wants them to take him out to like have sex with a prostitute. So they go do that, and then Pete gets one too. And it's funny, this prostitute has like different like scenarios she does to like, you know, for the guy. So one of them is like calling him like daddy. Another one's like, oh, it's my first time. And then the one he settles on is like her like worshiping him like a king. So again, it goes that whole Pete persona where he desperately wants to be like a Don Draper type when he's not. You know, Don warns him, you know, don't lose what you got at home, which is Trudy. And then later on, so it's so fucking funny. So they lose the Jaguar account because apparently the dude who they took out to the whorehouse, he went back home to his wife with like bubble gum in his like pubes, and that caused like a whole fucking thing. So they lost the account. And then Lane's pretty angry about it because it was his account. But then Pete's like, you know, what do you do around here? Like, the only job you had was to let us out of our contracts at the last place. Like, you don't really do anything besides that. So he takes offense at that, and they get into like a fisticuffs match. And it's so funny to see Lane just beat the shit out of Pete. Yeah, at the end of the episode, Pete's like, I have nothing. Which I'm like, dude, you have Annie fucking Edison in your life. How do you have nothing? These guys are so, oh my God. I mean, I get that's how men are. You know, they're like, they constantly just want more and more and more. I guess, I mean, that's how people are in general. But all these dudes have like fucking gorgeous wives, and they're like, I gotta, I'm mad because, oh my God, it's so funny. But then Lane also is going through something like that too because he kisses Joan. I wonder if they'll end up together. I don't think so, but you know, I don't know. That'd be kind of nice. I mean, Lane's a pretty good guy. I mean, he's still kind of his own kind of creepy self at times. That remember he saved that picture of that girl from a previous episode. So It's not exactly like he's a saint by any means. But yeah, that's all these guys have their own problems. Funny enough, Dawn is the one who's being the most saint-like among them right now, which even Pete said that too. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about the episode. It was a funny one. Man, seeing them get into a fight in the office was pretty awesome. But yeah, well, that's all I have to say for now, and we'll check out the next episode soon. So, talk to you guys then. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another reaction. Just watched the 6th episode, Faraway Places. Now, this is a cool episode because it's told non-chronologically. Like, there's 3 storylines happening, and they all happen at the same time, but we get them one at a time. So, first one up is Peggy. So it's the Heinz presentation. It didn't go well last time, even though she had a great idea, so she's nervous. She has a fight with her boyfriend about it. It's the same situation as the last boyfriend, always putting work before, personal relationships. It's who she is. They don't really like her work on the presentation, and she gets all aggressive and in their face about it, and so they don't want her there anymore. She decides to go to the movies because she's just fed up with all this shit. She goes there and she starts smoking weed with some guy there, and she ends up like jerking him off in the theater. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I get it, but it's like, does this happen in New York all the time where people just have like random sexual encounters in public where it's like, just randomly, I don't know. I mean, I get they're on drugs, but even still, like, this is just so weird to me to think about in a public fucking theater. It wasn't even like a porno theater or anything, too. It was just like a normal movie where people are just watching something. I don't know what the movie they're watching was, but I thought that was so funny. And I don't know. I get that she was just trying to, like, take her mind off of everything, but she doesn't tell her boyfriend at the end of the episode that she jerked off some guy in a fucking movie theater. I don't know why that's so funny to me. It just is. But anyway, then she goes back to work. We get Dawn calls her, and we can tell something's wrong, but we don't get that storyline until the end of the episode. So that's a cool little thing there. And then she talks to Michael Ginsberg, and he has this like weird story about he's like a Martian, and he's born in a concentration camp. And I guess that, I don't know, that means something to Peggy or something. And then she calls her boyfriend to come over. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about this. It's funny. It's definitely true what the boyfriend said to her about, like, she just uses him. But yeah, I don't know what to make of this storyline. It just happened. Meanwhile, though, Roger Sterling, it turns out he's the one who pitched the idea of going to that, what do you call it? It's some hotel chain. I couldn't tell if they were going there for business or not, but anyway, they go into this hotel. He pitches to Dawn that they go to this hotel chain and have fun together because he just doesn't want to see his wife. He and Jane just really hate each other pretty much at this point. But Dawn decides to take Megan instead. So he has to go with his wife to, I guess they're her friends. It's her like psychiatrists and friends, and I don't know what they are, but basically they go to dinner with these people, and then they all agree to take LSD together and like, open up their minds and shit like that. So they do that, but the while they're tripping, by the way, the tripping reminds me very much of like the test stream, which Matt Weiner wrote on The Sopranos. A lot of weird shit's happening, but he and Jane talked about it to themselves, and they both kind of admit that they're ready to get divorced. Like, they're not happy in this relationship, and they just are looking for a way out. And in the morning, he wakes up and he remembers that, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna get divorced. And she doesn't remember it for a second, but then she's like, yeah, that's how it is. Again, I don't know. I mean, I get that it's like, it's not just all looks, but like, guys like fucking Roger Sterling, right, who literally have all the fucking money, and women in the world still find a way to be unhappy. But they agree to get divorced, and it's a little bit sad. I was sad in this episode when I realized what Roger Sterling's plot was about, where I was like, he's always trying to like find a friend in Dawn, like have Dawn be there for him, but Dawn doesn't give a shit. Like, he just cares about himself. Now, also balanced out by the fact that, remember that time that Roger was like hitting on Dawn's wife, so, not that he deserves a friend, but I think he's always kind of looking for Dawn to like help distract him from his, his pain and everything. So, that's we'll see how that goes. But the last storyline is with Dawn and Megan. So he takes her with him to go to this hotel chain. They get into a fight because, rightly so, Dawn is like mixing his personal and work life together too much. It's hurting Megan's like reputation on the team. Like, she just constantly again, she's like, I don't know when I'm your wife. I don't know when I'm, your employee. It's like, it's hard for her. She says something bad to him, which is like, why don't you call your, because they get into a fight about her mother. She's like, why don't you call your mother? And, his mother's dead. So he drives off and leaves her there, but he goes back and she's already gone. He can't find her. Turns out she took a bus back home. They get into this big fight. She has this really great quote where she's like, every fight diminishes us. And I think that's true to an extent. I don't necessarily think it's like, it's what's the word? It's unfixable, but yeah, fighting and, stuff like that, it hurts a relationship, but it's, it's also natural and you can grow from it too. But, I'm thinking about my own relationship at this point, but, we see the problems like growing between the two of them. And, at the end of the episode, Bert Cooper calls him out and he's like, bro, you've like not been doing anything around here. You're not focused on the job at all. And he's like, that's none of your business. And then he's like, this is my business. Because Bert Cooper's the one who founded that company. Like, yeah, they're all partners now, but it's like, he started it with Roger Sterling's dad. So it's like, he cares about this thing. Not that I understand necessarily what he does there, besides the fact that he started the company. I'm like, he doesn't draw up new business. He doesn't, he put the money into the business to get it started. So, but if Lane was like, if Pete was like, Lane doesn't do anything, I'm like, what does Bert Cooper do? Although he has some expertise, like when they were gonna bring in Honda or whatever, or the car company or whatever, they turned to him for that. So, it's we got some conflicts brewing between everyone, but we'll see how they go. But cool episode in terms of like storytelling structure. Hadn't really seen that before in this show with like the non-linear storytelling. But I actually really like it. I thought it was very artistic, and I'm excited to see what more episodes come this season. So I'm probably going to keep watching. So I'll talk to you guys then. All right, so just watched the 7th episode, I think, at the Codfish Ball. I have to go right now, so I'm going to record this really quick. But I just watched the episode, and I want to record this while it's still fresh in my head. So Dawn is getting an award from the American Lung Cancer Society, whatever, about that letter he sent last season denouncing cigarette companies. And they're going to use the opportunity to maybe get some more customers and stuff like that. Meanwhile, so they're also, okay, there's a bunch of different plot lines I need to get through. they sell Heinz beans. They were originally Heinz beans was originally going to drop them as clients because they haven't liked any of their pitches. But Megan comes up with this amazing pitch that wins them over. It's great because in the scene she's like, she knows what to do and she's feeding Don the opportunity and he's pitching it, and it's like it's this great like working together in sync moment. So that goes really well. Meanwhile, Peggy is moving in with Abe, or maybe Abe's moving in with her. They're living in sin, quote unquote, which is not, considered appropriate by her mother, who's Catholic, so she doesn't like that. Peggy was also a little disappointed because she was actually looking forward to the idea that Abe was going to propose to her. Again, Peggy is forward thinking in some ways, but in other ways she's also a little bit of a traditionalist too. So I think she's happy about moving in together, but it's like, I think she was excited about the idea of him proposing. So they do that. Her mother does not approve. And then finally, at the end of this episode, so Sally comes to the award because she's staying at their house because the grandmother broke her leg, or she tripped on the telephone wire when Sally was calling Glenn. So he's at some like boarding school or something. So they're still friends and stuff like that. So she goes to the award. And each of them there's this great shot at the end of the episode where each of them is looking very uncomfortable because they all got some bad news or something like that. And the music playing, it's like perfect editing. I love that shot because Dawn was basically told that like none of the people who are on the board of American Cancer are going to work with him for their companies because he bit the hand that fed him, right? He attacked one of his old clients, so it's like they don't trust him anymore. So he's disappointed about that. What's her name? Megan's father is like a communist like professor. And he's not happy that she's married to this like, again, big business person. And he's mad at her for kind of abandoning her dreams. So she's uncomfortable with that. Her mother hates her father, and because they fight all the time, and so she like blows Roger Sterling, which is so funny that Roger, got with Megan's mom, but they do that, so that there's that uncomfortability there. And then Sally sees it and she's like, freaked out. That girl has seen so much horrible stuff over the course of this show. She just constantly sees the horrible stuff that all these people are doing. And there's this great line. The last line of the show is she calls Glenn again. And he's like, "How's the city?" And she's like, "It's dirty." And she's seeing like the horrible things that go on behind the scenes with all these characters. So definitely an interesting episode. I know I went really quickly through that, but I had to head out here for something. But I don't want to forget what happens in the episode after this. So, not a whole lot of plot stuff to discuss. Good episode. Love that final shot. How uncomfortable they all are. Yeah, good episode. So, talk to you guys later. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another reaction. Just watched is it 7th or 8th? I can't remember right now. But it's the episode Lady Lazarus. Now, in this episode, there's pretty much only one storyline happening, I would say. It's Megan deciding to quit Sterling Cooper and pursue a career in acting, like her father talked to her about last episode. So, she decides she's unhappy there. She gets kind of a kick in the butt from Peggy, who's like, how many people would dream to work here and you're not even interested, which I get that too. But it's like, it's her passion. So she wants to follow that, even if it's, and I understand the whole, like, she had a line where she said I feel better failing on stage than I do succeeding here. And I totally feel that, because even I feel that way sometimes about YouTube, where it's like, even when I make a video that's kind of like this, which is probably not going to get a whole lot of views, I still feel like, oh, isn't this cool that I did this? Versus, not necessarily succeeding at another job like that. So, she decides to quit. Don is, I'd say he's upset about it to a degree, because he liked working with her, but he's also surprisingly supportive too. So we'll see how it goes. I think it could be like a problem later on, but at least for this episode, it felt like, okay, he supports her still. Then again, when she's not available at his beck and call all the time, he might resent it. I think he resented that a little bit with Betty, I think, too, when she was kind of doing her own thing too. So we'll see. But they have some issues, Dawn and Peggy, because they're Megan and Dawn were gonna do this little bit for like the commercial. And it was a really good bit, like when they were doing it. They had so much chemistry, but then Dawn and Peggy like just are stepping over each other, like just not in sync at all, and they're mad at each other or Dawn's mad at her for pushing Megan away, and she's mad at Dawn for basically like letting Megan just come in at like this higher level that she probably shouldn't have been there, because she's not super passionate about it. I'm trying to think of anything else that happened in this episode. I feel like that was it for the most part. The other thing, I almost forgot the other storyline this episode. There was something else going on, which was Pete meets... she's the wife of... Pete meets this woman. She's the wife of the guy he rides the train with every morning. She's played by Rory Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. I thought that was fun to see her in this. And they have sex because she's upset that her husband's like she knows what her husband does in the city. So they have sex, and Pete, likes her and stuff like that. Wants to keep seeing her, but she's like, no, that was a one-time thing. And he was complaining about the fact that, women just get to decide when it's going to happen, when the relationship's going to happen. And at first I was like, all right, Pete, like, stop being such a scumbag. Like, he goes to this woman's house with her husband, ostensibly to see her, and he kisses her while the husband's in another room. And I'm like, Pete, stop tormenting this poor girl. Like imagine the other scenario, right? Where it's like, imagine some girl, like, was, like, coming over to his house, and he's afraid his wife's gonna find out. It's like, imagine the fear he put into her, but the fear that she was gonna get caught. So it's not a good look for Pete to do that. But I kind of understood his point at the end there, where he was complaining that like women intentionally leave this little hint to you that like maybe in the future, like keep you on the line, right? Like on the hook, like dangle a little possibility of hope. And he's like, it feels like an accident, but it's not. And we see that at the end there, where he sees the woman in the car as he's pulling out, and she draws a little heart on the fog in the window. It's like, okay, she's intentionally trying to, keep Pete on the line so that he, I think she likes the attention because, her husband ignores her. So I would like to see more Rory in the show. That'd be cool. I don't know if she'll be a recurring character or not, but this might be like, God, even when Pete like scores, like he always comes out looking pathetic. It's so funny to see. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say about the episode. I'm trying to think of the last thing I wanted to mention was at the end of the episode, Megan gives Don a Beatles record because he doesn't understand like why the Beatles are so popular. And he plays the album, and the Beatles song plays over the last montage, and then Don, like he pulls the stylus off the record and the music cuts, and right as he does that, it cuts from the montage back to him, which I thought was a very artistic choice. It's like he turned off the music so the montage stopped. I like that. I think they ruined it a little bit at the end there. Over the credits, the Beatles song plays. I feel like maybe silence would have been better, because it kind of is representing like Don, because the episode ends with Don walking to the bedroom alone, and he's kind of, there's a feeling of loneliness because Megan's doing her own thing now. That I thought it would have been better with silence, but I understand from their perspective, right? Imagine how much they paid for that Beatles song to use in the episode, so they must have been like, let's get some more use out of it by playing it over the credits. But just given the fact that they worked the music into the very fabric of the episode, that it was tied to, again, Don stopping the record, I felt like they should have just not played it again. But I get it. But that's pretty much everything I had to say about this episode. Good one, and we'll see what next episode has in store for us. So talk to you guys then. All right, so just watched the 9th episode of season 5, Dark Shadows. This is an interesting episode in terms of like Don's character, because we don't typically see this side of him. But I should probably explain what happens first. So this episode, Don is pitching, or I guess the company's pitching to Snowball, which I guess is some kind of like drink, like soft drink or something. And Michael Ginsberg comes up with a really good pitch that everyone really likes, and Don comes with a pitch that they like, but they don't like as much. So when it comes time for the pitch, though, Don leaves 2 of them behind in the cab, which is the ones that Michael made. So they only hear Don's pitch, and they like it, they sell it, and that's all anyone cares about. But Michael's like, you didn't even give my idea a chance to be seen. And Don plays it off like he's like, I don't even think about you at all. But he absolutely, like, you could tell it had bothered him that Michael's work was better than his, because Don, he's not, like, he's done some really great pitches, but he's definitely been in more of like a supervisory role than like an actual like IC type role, individual contributor role, like where he's actually making the work. So I mean, on one hand, it's like, Don, you should know that, like, as the leader of the department, all the ideas are yours, as in you're managing all this kind of stuff. But even on like an individual level, I think he was a little bit jealous of Michael's success. So that was cool to see an insecure side of Don, and we get another side of that with Betty this episode. So Betty goes over to Don's apartment to pick up the kids, and she sees Megan. Obviously Megan's very skinny and beautiful, and Betty had been having a weight problem this season, so she's jealous of Megan, and so she tries to hurt their relationship by telling Sally about Anna Draper, Don's first wife that he married for them just for legal reasons or whatever. That Sally feels hurt and confronts them about it, but Don tells them the truth. And then Sally kind of plays it off like to her mother that Don wasn't bothered at all by it, to kind of get under her skin too. So like at the end of the episode, we can see that she's pretty unhappy about that. I will say that, like, okay, yeah, this action, I was like, I didn't like Betty in this moment. Because on one hand, she had been doing really well. She had been, like, taking responsibility for her actions, and like, she felt very supportive of Henry Francis. So in that way, she was coming off more mature. But then when it came to Dawn, she just went back to her childish ways. Again, I can understand why people don't like Betty. In that moment, I really didn't like her either. But like I said in previous seasons, I enjoyed her stories, so I thought, I think she's a good character. But that's pretty much everything. Oh, the last storyline is with Roger and Jane, who they're getting a divorce, but Roger is potentially bringing in this like Jewish wine, and so he gets Michael Ginsberg to write some copy for him, and he also gets his wife, or divorcing wife Jane, to go with him to dinner, and afterwards he goes and has sex with her. But in the morning, she's pretty upset because, like, well, one, it's like he ruined a new apartment by making a memory of him there. And two, I also think it's kind of like a mixed signal kind of thing from him. It's like, like you're trying to like they're trying to have a clean separation, and he does this, and it's just, it's not that he wants to get back with Jane. I don't think it's just his like. He's like a dog, just like marking his territory. It's just, almost instinctual at this point. So, I don't know. It's a complicated situation, but I can understand why she's upset. And at the end, even he was kind of like, I don't know why he did this. Like, obviously he's still attracted to her, but still, it's like, why is he doing this? I really hope that like Roger and Joan could just get together, because really those two belong together more than anyone else. But I know for the sake of drama, it's probably not going to work. Do any relationships genuinely work out on this show? Probably not, because I think everyone's just married to their work. But that's everything pretty much I have to say about this episode. Pretty good one. We'll see if Megan's like. It seemed like Megan was a little bit jealous of her friend's audition, so we'll see if that goes anywhere. And that kind of ties into the theme of this episode of like jealousy and ingratitude. But we'll check that out in future episodes, and talk to you guys soon. Hey, what's up, everyone? Back with another reaction. This one's gonna be the last one for tonight. But just watched the 10th episode of season 5, Christmas Waltz. So this episode opens with something interesting. So Lane apparently owes money to the British government. I guess he didn't pay his like British taxes, which he was supposed to, even though he's living in America. Not sure how the taxes actually work, but he owes them like $8,000, which is a lot of money. That's like close to like 80 grand now in today's money. So not an insignificant sum at all. He has to get it together. So he ends up getting the line of credit to Sterling Cooper extended $50,000, and he's going to use that money for bonuses to everyone, and so they can use the bonuses for himself to pay for his taxes. But the partners decide not to take bonuses because they need the money flow, because Mohawk Airline is like not paying them right now. They're on strike. It's they'll have to wait on that. But Lane already cashed a check to himself, and he forged Don's signature. So he's gonna be in some trouble there. I wonder if maybe he'll be removed from the board, or kicked out of the company for doing that. I'm pretty sure fraud and embezzlement is grounds for termination, even when you own the company. So we'll see how that goes. I hope they don't get rid of him. I like him as a character. I like having him around. But yeah, it's like, come on, man. You couldn't get a loan or something for that? Like, I think it was harder to get loans back in the day. I remember that. But like, I don't know. Damn, couldn't you? You're an owner in a major, New York firm. Couldn't the bank give you a loan or something? I mean, if they'll give credit, $50,000 of credit to the company, I feel like $8,000 to him personally would not be that big of a deal. But regardless, that goes on. While that's happening, we have Joan gets served her divorce papers. Again, fucking Captain Idiot over there in Vietnam decides he's gonna divorce her. and Dawn goes out with her. They don't buy a car. They go to rent a Jaguar basically. So Dawn can see they're gonna pitch to Jaguar. So Dawn's testing out the car. But then he takes her out for drinks. They have a good time. There's some like mild flirtation there, but like not really. Like they both, I think, respect each other so much that it's I wouldn't say it's brother and sister because there's definitely some chemistry there, but it's more like good friends. So not that anything happens between Dawn and her, but then Dawn gets into a fight with Megan when he gets home because he didn't tell her where she was, or where he was, and she's being her usual, not usual dramatic self because she's actually pretty calm most of the time, but she like throws a dish and she occasionally has a temper tantrum, so this is one of those times, but I watched the episode like an hour or so ago. I didn't have an opportunity to record it, so I'm wondering if I forgot anything. I hope I'm not. I know this is kind of a lame reaction, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything I can think of for now. So hopefully I didn't. I feel like the second I turn off this camera, there's gonna be like there's a huge plot point. Maybe I can look it up. Christmas Waltz Mad Men. Excuse me while I read the plot summary just to make sure I didn't. Oh Christ! I'm glad I brought this up because there's a whole other thing there. And that was the interesting part. Jesus Christ, I'm stupid. It was Harry and Paul Kinsley. So we see Paul Kinsley again. For the first time in probably like 2 or 3 seasons. Okay, so you guys remember Paul, right? He was always the one who was like, I don't want to say kind of like looking for an identity, but like he was like dating a black girl again to be interesting, and now he's in like a Buddhist kind of cult. I don't know. Hare Krishna. I don't know if that's like a cult or not. I don't want to offend people, but definitely the people in there are not the most respectable people in the world. And I don't know. There's something like, again, this might be offensive, but there's something really kind of disgusting to me about white people who are into Buddhism. Like, I no offense to the people who actually believe in that, but there's something just so pretentious about that, and especially Paul, he's definitely that type. So he invites Harry to come down there. It turns out he wants Harry to sell a screenplay that he wrote of Star Trek to Gene Roddenberry. And by the way, don't ever do that. They don't want any scripts from you. But he wants to break into the door that way. His girlfriend, Lakshmi, she doesn't want Paul to leave and be Hollywood type. She wants him to stay in the cult. And she like has this plan where she fucks Harry Crane to get him to not sell the screenplay. I don't understand how that was what her plan was there. I thought for a second like she was gonna be like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna blackmail you, like I'll tell your wife or something like that, but it that wasn't the plan at all. It was like, you fucked me, so now you have to do what I say. And he even kind of says to her, he's like, you already gave it away, and she slaps him. But it's like, I don't know, maybe that's like a plot thing. Maybe it's like she's such a dumb hippie that like she can't think about how this blackmail is working. But yeah, I don't know what to make of that. But at the end of the episode, Harry gives Paul enough for like a bus fare to Los Angeles. he gives him like $5,000 or like $500, which is again close to like $5,000 in today's money. Because he feels bad, I think, about like banging his girl. But also I think he wants to help Paul out. And yeah, it's sad to see Paul in this state. I was like, man, dude, you used to work on, Madison Avenue. Like, come on, what are you doing? But he's definitely fallen on hard times. But now the only one we have left that we need to see what was going on with him is Salvatore. I'd love to see him come back, and I'm pretty sure he will at some point. Especially if they're gonna bring Paul back, they got to bring Sal back. But we'll have to see when that happens. But it was cool to see him, and I hope he gets his life together, even though he was kind of a snake, kind of a piece of shit. Like Paul was the one I hated the most out of that entire group. The second closest would be Pete, but we're saving that for later. Yeah, I'll leave it there. That's pretty much everything about the episode that I can remember. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll check out the next one tomorrow because it's getting late here. So talk to you guys then. Hey, what's up, everyone? Kino here, and we just watched the 11th episode of season 5. Oh, camera went kind of blurry. That's okay. Who cares what I look like anyway? So just watched the 11th episode of season 5, The Other Woman. Now, this episode, we get a lot of, like, big developments happening. So, one is, they go out to dinner with, I guess he's the head of the Dealers Association of Jaguar. I don't know how that works, but, basically, he is part of, like, the approval process of whether Sterling Cooper is going to get Jaguar as like a brand they're going to market for. So he says he wants to sleep with Joan. He's like basically like prostitution. Or else he's going to tank the deal. So they approach Joan and see if she's interested. They're going to offer like $50,000, which is like $500,000. Like it's a lot of money. But instead, Lane decides to convince her to basically become a partner instead within the company. This is because, again, he already took $50,000, extended their credit line, and cut a check for himself for $8,000. So, again, this is a big deal. It's gonna come out. Like, there's no way they're not gonna basically figure out what he did. Yeah, there's no bonuses this year because they have to focus all their money on Jaguar. And he's going to get found out. I think he's probably going to get kicked out of the company. We'll see. But Joan does it. She sleeps with this guy. It's a big deal in the sense that, like, obviously she's not a virgin or anything like that, but prostituting herself essentially for this. Now, there's probably some kind of argument here of like, is there a difference between what she did and what any of these guys do? Just because of the fact that she's having sex with this guy. It's for business, right? They all do stuff for business. But it's cool to see she's actually a partner now. That's awesome. She definitely deserves it. Yeah, we'll see if there's. I don't think she's too bothered by it. I mean, she's slept with dudes before. This guy looked kind of like particularly sleazy, but I don't know if it's gonna corrupt her or anything, or she'll have will it haunt her what she did here. I don't think so. I think it's just one thing she did to get on top. Meanwhile, though, Peggy decides she's gonna leave Sterling Cooper because. Again, Don has never is always like taking her for granted. He throws some money in her face in this one, and she decides to take a meeting with the douchebag creative director for the other company. I don't remember his name, but he's like Don Draper. He hates Don Draper. So they agree to take her onto their team, and they're going to pay her a lot of money. So she decides it's time to leave, and she says goodbye to Dawn. Now, this is significant because, one, obviously Peggy's been a part of the company forever, but more so than just that, she's leaving at a time when also Megan is exploring going her own route too with like the acting and stuff like that. So Dawn is potentially losing out on, multiple women in his life. So yeah, to see her go is particularly sad. And there's this great gesture they have at the end where she wants to shake his hand goodbye, and he takes her hand and kisses it instead. It's a very intimate moment, and it's it makes her cry at the end. It's powerful because as much as it's been bad between these two at times, but it's also been like they've been there for each other in ways that like only they know each other in this way. Like Dawn was there for her when she had her baby and had her kept going. Yeah, it's sad to see her go. I hope she's not written off the show entirely because I really like her, but will we see her just doing stuff on her own at this other company? I would like to think so. Maybe like Elizabeth Moss got a new opportunity and they wrote her off or something, but yeah, I mean she was just incredible in this role. So I hope we get to see more of her, and I don't know, maybe she'll come back to Sterling Cooper as like a partner eventually. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, for now we'll leave it there. I know I went through that pretty quick, but it's an exciting time at Sterling Cooper. They've gotten Jaguar. There's all this work to be done. There's this open-ended question of like what's going to happen to Lane. So I'm probably going to watch another episode and report back to you guys. So I'll talk to you then. Hey, what's up, everyone? Just watched the 12th episode of Season 5. Commissions and fees, and fuck, this is a sad episode. I'll just jump into it. Lane kills himself. He basically, Dawn finds out that he embezzled the money. He forces him to quit. Lane's wife buys him a Jaguar. And there's some dark humor to this when he tries to kill himself by putting the tailpipe from the Jaguar into the car, but the car won't start because all this time they've been saying Jaguars fail. And then he goes to the office and hangs himself. And they find him there, and yeah, this is a really sad death because I've liked Lane. He's been a little bit weird at times, but it's sad to see him go. I was like, damn, Dawn, couldn't you just let him do this? I mean, he's, again, like you said, has made basically nothing from being at this company this entire time. Yeah, it's pretty damn awful. He was a good person for the most part. Obviously not the most, they didn't devote a lot to his character, but it's awful to see him go like this. And then we also have another storyline with my camera's gone fuzzy again. Can I? Okay, cool. There we go. We got another storyline where Sally goes to Dawn and Megan's place, and they have stuff to do, so they leave her there alone. And she calls Glenn, and they go to the museum together. She kind of likes Glenn. She doesn't 100% know yet. But then she gets her period while she's there and then takes a cab home. And then Dawn goes to Dawn and Megan's place to see if she's there and get his book bag. He ends up waiting there for her. And then Dawn gets home and he's like, I don't care. Like, he's just so, the day has been so bad that he's just like, whatever, kid, come on, I'll drive you home. He, at the end of the episode, like, Glenn's talking to him about, why does everything in life go to crap? And it's, Don's feeling the same thing, obviously, right now. So he does a nice gesture by letting him drive, teaching him how to drive, which is really nice to see. again, it's a little self indulgent because it's Matt Weiner's son. But you know, having again, it's probably really cool for Matt to see like his son interacting with his, probably stand-in, probably like Don is his closest stand-in. So, yeah, I gotta imagine that's fun for him. But we also get a nice moment, I think, with Sally and her mother. Like, obviously Sally's been hating her mother this entire time, but when she's scared and she doesn't understand what's going on, her first instinct is to run back to her mother, and they hug, and it's a nice moment. We see that their relationship is not completely broken. It's like, yeah, I mean, Betty's a little unbearable at times, but there's always going to be that relationship there between mother and daughter that just makes it, there's a love and connection there, even though they fight all the time. So that was nice to see. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say. Like I said, I was devastated to see Lane die. It almost brought a tear to my eye. He's, again, like I said, it was just sad to see him go that way, because he didn't really deserve this. Like, yeah, why couldn't he just like tell them he needed the money? I understand it felt a little contrived, because I was like, it's not really tied to Lane's character that much that he didn't, pay his taxes. Like, this is not like a wide character arc for him. Like, I guess you could say that he's always been like the quietly suffering type, and that's what led to this. But yeah, I mean, really, why couldn't he just tell them he needed the money and then avoided all this shit? But it does make sense for his character to an extent. So anyway, we have one more episode after this. It's the finale. I'm gonna watch it right now, and then we'll talk about the season as a whole. So chat with you guys in a little bit. All right, so just watched the finale of season 5, The Phantom. A very interesting episode, and a strong hint to what's going to come next. So in this episode, we've got 3 storylines pretty much happening. We've got one with Pete, and we get Rory again from Gilmore Girls, so she's back. Although I think this is the last we'll see of her. So we get one storyline with him. We get one with Dawn and Megan. And I guess that's kind of it. Unless I'm forgetting something, but let's just talk about what I remember for right now. So, Pete runs into what's the douchey salesman guy and his wife, Rory. So he runs into them on a train. She calls him at his office, and tells him to meet her at a hotel. He does, even though he was pissed off that she didn't respond to him last time. And she reveals that she's going in for electroshock therapy. And she's gonna forget, all about him. And she wants one last time together. And obviously he doesn't want her to do that, but then he goes to the hospital and visits her, and he talks to her about his feelings and the fact that he was using her as like an escape from dealing with the problems of like his family's just not satisfying him, and he's just looking for something to fill his life with, and he's not finding it. So we actually got some powerful stuff from Pete, even though he's pathetic and he's a loser and all this stuff. It's still like I get you, Pete. Like I get, what he said to Don, I have nothing in my life. Now again, he does have fucking stuff in his life. I mean, not to say that Trudy's the greatest girl in the world, because she's very bossy and very, it's like she doesn't understand him. Again, he's still a douche, but I get him looking for something, because they're all looking for something. It's what Don was talking about to the Dow Chemical last episode. I didn't get to talk about that, but he was like, happiness is what you look for after you've already found it. The next happiness. So I think that's definitely what all these characters are going through. Now we get a little bit with Sterling Cooper. So like they're looking at new offices. One, because Lane killed himself in that office, but two, also they're really flush with money. In fact, they also get the life insurance payout from him as well. So they have a lot of money. Dawn tries to give some of the money back to Lane's wife, but she's like, this doesn't make up for his death in any way. So Sterling Cooper's on the up and up, and we'll see how it goes. But things are looking hopeful, at least in terms of business. Now, we also have a storyline with Megan and Dawn. So, Megan is with her actress friend, and she learns about the ad for the shoes. It's kind of fucked up with Megan. Like, she was supposed to ask for her friend, but she ends up asking for herself. Maybe that's a hint at like Megan is a little bit more selfish than we maybe first originally thought she was, but regardless, she asked for that. Dawn says no. During the episode, he's dealing with like a toothache, and it kind of causes hallucinations of his brother Adam, who killed himself, just like Lane did. And that's what obviously is reminding him of that. So he eventually gives in and gets Megan the audition, or I guess she got the role actually. But at the end of the episode, a woman approaches Dawn, interested in him, and we don't see him respond, but we can see that, he's kind of going back to his old ways. Like, a lot of the honeymoon is worn off, and I think he feels a little bit out of control, with Megan doing what she's doing, and I think he's, going back to his old ways of, like, I think this is a hint that we're going to see Dawn kind of, sleep around more, so... the honeymoon was nice with Megan while it lasted, but I think that's a strong hint to conflicts we're gonna see, and I don't think it's gonna work out with Megan. As much as we would love it to, we like seeing her, we like seeing Dawn happy. There's just problems that are developing between the two, and it's like they're still good, but there's these underlying problems that neither one of them are like talking about. And hopefully, they can solve it. But I think there's going to be some major issues popping up. I think Dawn's going to cheat. So that's pretty much the episode. I'd say the season was really good. Like, we got a lot of interesting developments. We get to see a look at Peggy doing her own thing, which is cool. I hope she's in season 6. We'll have to see. But I'm pretty sure she'll be in season 6. But yeah, maybe she'll come back. There's an open partnership now that Lane's gone, so maybe they'll bring her on as a partner. Who knows? But yeah, it's pretty much the episode. Really, I would love to watch the next season, like, right now, but I really feel like I should take a break. Like, I jumped in this season pretty late. Well, no, actually, I wrapped up season 4 like a week or two ago, so I jumped into this one pretty quick, and I feel like I should give some time in between each season to let it kind of sink in, and also to mirror the experience of waiting between the seasons that normal people who watch the show when it was coming out went through. So we will do season 6 and 7 pretty quick here, just because I really like this show and I really want to finish it. And who knows what'll happen after that. We might do some videos on it. We'll have to see. But yeah, really fantastic show so far, and talk to you guys next season.